Do you want to mix a Motörhead song? Yes, I'm talking about the real thing. I'm talking about the original Multitracks. Now you can. Because inside Kohle Audio Kult, that's exactly what we're doing right now with our brand new Motörhead mixing ritual. We have teamed up with Pro Mix Academy and Motörhead producer and mixer Cameron Webb to bring you the Multitracks of the Motörhead song Electricity from the Bad Magic album. That means you can mix Lemmy's iconic distorted bass tones. You can mix great sounding drums by Mickey D, recorded at the legendary NRG studios in Los Angeles. This mixing ritual comes with a complete mix rundown by the man himself, Mr. Cameron Webb, who mixed the album. And he's going to talk about how they recorded it, about the gear they used, and he's going to show you all his plugins and everything else. So in this video, I want to give you a little overview. I want to open up all the multi-tracks, show you how the drums, the guitars, the bass, and of course Lemmy's vocals sound. And to make this even better, later in this video, I will tell you how you can win a PEAVEY 6505 1992 tube amplifier. Yes, you can win the exact amp that I used in my video. Stay tuned, because Motörhead is fun. I mean, everybody loves Motörhead, right? It's interesting. It's one of the most respected bands ever, I guess. Maybe together with AC/DC. It doesn't matter if you talk to a hard rock guy or the most evil black metal dude, you know, they all respect Lemmy. They all love Motörhead. So I told you it's going to be fun, and I'm sure you want to watch this. Let's get started. All right, let's check out those multi-tracks. And I can already tell you it is a real pleasure to mix that song, mainly because the tracks sound great. They are well recorded and played by great musicians. And the main message behind this is that if you get things right at the source, you know, you don't have to fix things in the mix later. But let's dive right into it. Let's start with the drums. We've got 3 overhead mics. So we got left and right and another mic in the middle, which is kind of smart. Let's start with only the left and the right microphone. Great sounding overheads, rather dark, smoky sounding cymbals, fat sounding drums, a great representation of the whole kit in favor of the crashes. Now I want to add the overhead mic in the middle, and this one is around 6 dB quieter than the left and right mics. And it just fills up the middle nicely. And you can see there's a smaller cymbal in the middle, and you can hear it a lot better when this track is on. This one. So let's move on with the kick. So we've got one kick microphone, sounds like this. Sounds great. And then we got a kick sample, which sounds like this. And they add up really nicely. I have the kick sample 6 dB more quiet than the kick mic, and it sounds like this together. Already sounds pretty nice, right? And one thing that surprised me is that they were actually using a second kick drum for the recording. Most people just use like a double pedal, but they used a second kick drum, and they actually managed to make both kick drums sound very similar. So this is kick drum number 1. Now let's add kick mic number 2. Quite impressive. And you see he's only playing the second kick during the double kick part. So I've just muted all the rest. And together with the samples, they sound like this. Next up is the snare, and that's the only track where I have a plugin right now. Let's bypass the plugin. By the way, I've also flipped the phase of the snare. You always, when you record drums and mix drums, you always got to check the phase relationship of the close mics with the overheads. Let me just show you this. So this is the snare. Fat and beefy like a rock and roll snare needs to sound. And you see I flipped the phase together with the overheads. So this is before. When you do this, you should always go for the fuller sounding option. So when I flip the polarity or phase, it sounds better to me. All right, then I added a plugin because I wanted a little more bite and a little more attack. So I just quickly threw this soft tube Abbey Road Brilliance control onto the track before. Nice. Then we have the bottom snare mic. Also cool. Actually sounds pretty good for a bottom snare mic. And then Cameron gave us the samples that he used in the real mix. So we got one snare sample that sounds like this. Let's blend it with the snare mic. I don't really need it, but who cares? And then we got a great sounding room sample, this one. And I really love using room samples on snare instead of reverb. Let's just blend it. Nice, and this already sounds great, don't you think? No processing. Let's move on. Then we have the toms. I'll just skip the toms for now, they're boring. Then we have some cymbal spot mics. We've got a hi-hat mic and a ride mic. I usually recommend to just start working with the overheads like we did now. And whenever you feel like, hey, there's something missing, the hi-hat is maybe too quiet in comparison to the main crashes or not direct enough or the ride, whatever, then you start like pulling up those cymbal spot mics, but not before. So the less mics, the better usually. Okay, just skip them for now and let's move on with the room mics. And remember, this was recorded at a legendary room, Energy Studios in LA. Let's blend them. Oh, I love that sound. And that's without any compression. So I'm sure if you add some extreme bumping compression to those room mics, it's gonna sound insane and huge. Then we got another mono room mic. Sounds like this. A little further away, a little more dirty, I think. And we got a talkback mic. So this seems to be Mickey D's mic, the mic of the drummer, like the talkback mic for communication during the session. And you can hear the hi-hat is very loud on this one, apparently because it's close to the hi-hat. And I guess this is great for, yeah, some more dirty effects. But let's just mute that for now. I think we got a pretty good rough drum tone.
And here's something I forgot. Let me just interrupt you for a second. You can win a PEAVEY 6505 1992 guitar amp. Among all the people who sign up for Kohle Audio Kult until July 1st, one of them will get that amp. It is the exact same amp that I used in my video, and I will send it to you personally. So that is another great reason to join Kohle Audio Kult. The legendary PEAVEY 6505 1992, which means it goes back to the early days of the 5150 with the old transformers. If you are looking for that In Flames machine head tone from the 90s, that's your amp. I don't need it, but I'm sure many of you need it. So if you're thinking about joining the cult, that's another great reason. Good luck. Let's continue.
And let's move on with the bass. Lemmy's
bass tone, legendary bass tone. We got 4 tracks. First one is called Hammer. And Hammer is one of Lemmy's Marshall bass amps. They all have names. Murder One and Hammer and Freight Shaker, and there's other names. And it sounds like this. It's just the sound, right? It's just the sound. And we've got a second track called Bass, and I know Cameron told me that he usually splits up the signal into different amps, sometimes different cabs, sometimes different amps, and he uses one of the tracks for low end and the other one for more for the grind and for the mid-range. So the first one is the mid-range distortion track, and the second one is the low end track. And the cool thing is now you can just, blend them and add more low end with this second fader. And then we got 2 more tracks called Fuzz, and they are actually separate takes. So Lemmy doubled the bass twice. So what I did was I panned them left and right, and they're like super distorted. They sound a little bit like guitars. And let me just show you what happens when I blend them, when I bring them in. So we start with the first 2 tracks. Stereo bass, how cool is that? Really, really nice. And that was a surprise. 1 main performance and 2 double tracks. Cool. Obviously, they need a little EQ and a little compression and stuff to make them sit right in the mix, but all the attitude and the sound is already there. Let's move on with the guitars. Here we got 2 main tracks playing throughout the entire song. They sound like this. Great tone as well. Needs a little EQ, a little filtering, but really nice. And then we have some additional guitars and harmonies here and there, like on this part. And we got some leads and solo. Here's a solo. And on those lead and solo tracks, we also have a stereo effect track. So those 2, panned left and right. Really nice, let me show you that. So I start with the main solo track, and then I blend in those effect tracks. Awesome. I told you, like all the characters already there. Okay, let's blend in the main guitars. And we haven't mixed anything. It already sounds like a Motörhead track. How cool is that? And again, this is far away from a final mix, of course, but like I told you, if you've got well-recorded tracks, if all the character is there, what you got to do in mixing is you got to do technical correction. You got to do some fine-tuning to make those tracks shine in the mix, to make them sit right. But you don't have to do any repair work. We don't have to fix them. You don't have to add character with any processing, really. Solo. So much fun to mix this. And finally, let's check out the vocals. I was a little surprised here as well. There are so many tracks. So we got like Lemmy's main track, which sounds like this.
Don't speak of your beliefs. They are yours to keep. Memories will fade as time goes by.
Then there's a double track.
Don't speak of your beliefs. They are yours to keep. Memories will fade as time goes by.
And just like the solo, there are 2 effect tracks for the left and the right.
Memories will fade as time goes by.
Let me bring them in.
Remember just yourself, me or someone else. You will be the only one to try.
And that's a really nice way of making the vocals wider, stereo. And you will see if you watch the course, on some parts, if you listen to the song, on some parts, Cameron actually mixed all the vocals stereo, left and right, like a guitar. But, you know, you do whatever you want. Then we have a few more, actually quite a few, harmony tracks. They sound like this.
Electricity deep in your soul. Electricity deep in your soul.
And again, I'm surprised. More tracks, more vocal tracks than I expected, but they sound great as well. You can see they have been compressed on the way in, so they used an analog compressor while recording, which makes them a lot more mix ready as well. Let's just see what happens if we turn them on.
Don't speak of your beliefs. They are yours to keep. Memories will fade as time goes by. Remember just yourself, me or someone else. You will be the only one to try. Freedom to believe don't cost a thing.
I told you, those tracks are great. It's a real pleasure to mix this. It's a lot of fun. And I think the lesson we learn from those tracks is that you really want to try to get things right at the source. Find the right guitar amp, find the right drums, find the right room, find the right bass amp. Try to find the right character and don't try to put in the character later in the mix, you know. These days, people program drums and record DI tracks and then they try to add the character in the mix. This is way cooler. So let this be inspiration. Let this be an inspiration. And what you have to do now, if you download those tracks, you have to do classic mix work. You have to make those tracks work together. You have to make those tracks sit right. You don't have to add anything because all the character is already there. All right, I hope I could inspire you to either get the course only or to become a Kohle Audio Kult member, which also includes the course, and to mix some great sounding timeless rock and roll. I'm so happy to have those tracks inside the Academy. As a lifelong Motörhead fan with a big Motörhead record collection, this is fantastic. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. You find all the links below to all the options you have. Rest in peace, Lemmy, and to all the rest of you. I see you in hell, motherfuckers. Bye-bye.